Welcome, welcome one and all. Winter Wizard here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I like to do the bases for Forge Phobos. Joining me today, whoever you are, and welcome to episode 6, the final episode of Painting Forge Phobos, the painting series where I unveil all the secrets, all the tips and tricks for painting the colour scheme of my Adeptus Mechanicus army, Forge Phobos, the Cult of Fear. Well, it's cold and lonely here in Winter Wizard's Frozen Fortress. It's night time actually. It's a lovely rainy evening out there, and we're trying to keep things nice and relaxed. I've got a lovely cup of tea over there, Martian chamomile, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host, Norwegian troll, Dimmu. There's a good reason actually why we're doing this video at night time. Well, the thing is, this is the final episode of the painting series, and with all final episodes of the painting series that I do, this one's going to be focusing in on the bases. And so we're going to be loading up this base with a whole load of texture paint, and that stuff takes quite a long time to dry. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that it's bone dry before I move on to any of the next steps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this video now, load up this paint, then we'll continue to wind down for the evening, and we'll pick this up again tomorrow morning. So we've got a model here. This is Belisarius Cawl, the Archmagos himself, and he's all finished here. Well, almost finished. Everything's painted on him, apart from the last thing that we always leave till last, which is the base. And so that's what we're going to be doing. It's a very simple technique actually. Let me start by showing you what we're going to need. So the main bulk of the work is going to be with one of the CITADEL technical paints here. These really are fantastic. I really do like them. And this one is Astrogranite Debris, so we're going to be using that. We're going to need some Mechiancus standard grey, little base paint there. We're going to need some Administratum Grey, and we're going to use a little bit of Corax White as well. And that's all we need, just those 4 colours. And that'll be everything. So we've zoomed in here, and the very first thing we need to do is apply the Astrogranite Debris. So use an old brush, or I've got this little used to be a nail file or something, and it's just a little piece of metal, just a tool, any kind of tool that you think is gonna be able to scoop this paint out and slap it on the base. Well, that's all it is really. Just I'm going to scoop a load of this out. It does go quite a way actually, this stuff, but this is quite a sizable base. Oops, dropped a bit there. And there we go. We're just gonna slap that on like so. Just taking your time, being careful, making sure that we don't smudge it all up the model that we've already painted. And just giving this a nice bit of coverage. So my philosophy on doing bases is when I design a base, I like my bases to be a representation of the home of the faction, essentially. And if they don't have a home, well, what sort of place would they be hanging out in, and perhaps what would a place look like if they'd visited it? For example, with Death Guard, they didn't really have their own home world or home planet. But wherever they go, the rotten tide follows. So I did a sort of tidal, sort of deep sea kind of sludgy floor, bottom of the ocean kind of sludgy floor kind of base for them. But the Admech here, Forge Phobos, the Cult of Fear, well, their homeworld is the moon of Phobos, Mars's moon. In Phobos, as I imagined, like a moon, I wanted to do a sort of grey, rocky moon type base. And that's what we've gone for. That's what we've gone for. Sort of helps to tell their story, you know. But yeah, so let me know in the comments below, how do you like to do your bases? Do you have a philosophy behind it, or you just do something that you think looks good for whatever reason? Let me know. I'd be very interested to hear, to read. So I'm just sort of manipulating this paint around, getting it nice and smooth. Nice smooth coverage, rather. Not smooth in texture. Got a scrunch of tissue on hand here for any messes. Can get on your fingers, and then I'd just say just to be careful if you're going to be working this stuff and then holding the model. Just be careful that you're not going to get it on your fingers and then touch the model where you don't want to make a mess. But I'm going to keep playing with this, and then I'll give you a little look at the result. There we are then, so we've got good coverage, and I'm just running my thumb all the way around the edge just to tidy it up and get any sort of overlapping, any bits which are just peeking over the edge. Make sure the edge is nice and clean and smooth, so we don't get any crusty bits when it dries. And because we want to paint the edge, so we don't want any texture on it when we do. We want a nice smooth finish, so just make sure that that's nice and clean. And there we go. It's got a nice sort of coverage on it. That's good. You can just build it up in places if you want something to be a bit more rocky or a bit flatter, but that's going to dry nicely, and that's what we're going to do. So for now, we're going to leave this to dry. Dimmu and I are going to drink our tea and continue to wind down for the evening, and we'll pick this up again first thing tomorrow morning. Here we are then. So it's morning now in Winter Wizard's Frozen Fortress. Dimmu and I are well rested. It's a beautiful day out there. I've got a lovely cup of coffee over here, Kepri roast, and Belisarius' base is nice and dry. Rock solid, dry as a bone. Which is perfect. You really don't want to be trying to work on this base whilst maybe some areas of the texture are a little bit moist, a little bit damp. So just make sure that it's rock solid before we carry on. So we zoomed in here, we're going to carry on. First thing we're going to do, we're going to get the Mechiancus Standard Grey. So we're going to open this up. We've got just sort of a scruffy old brush here, really. Any sort of brush will do. So what we're going to do first, we've got a couple of little when you put the texture on, you might notice a couple of little flecks of silver still coming through, like on the edge here, around there perhaps. Just a little bit where perhaps it's dry and it's not quite covered the base fully, but that's fine, no problem at all. I'm just going to apply a little bit of this on there, just to bring those little flecks back in line. There we go, just working a bit of that paint into those. Any bits that you've missed, there's hardly anything really, but a couple of little areas. There we go. Just to cover up any little bits of silver, and let that dry, and then we'll move on. Little touch-ups of grey are done. They're all nice and dry, so we're gonna do a couple of layers of dry brushing now. We're gonna start with the Administratum Grey. So we've got a nice size sort of dry brush here, and we're going to load up a bit of this grey onto the bristles. Get a tissue, work it into there. Brush, it's called a dry brush because the brush needs to be dry, or relatively dry at least. And you're sort of working the paint in there so there's no sort of excess paint coming off, and when you scrub it, you get this sort of dry pigments coming off. And we're gonna scrub this over the rock there. And this is just a case of catching all the sort of raised rocky area, giving it a nice highlight, nice sort of dimension, nice depth to it. So just scrub that across. I'm generally avoiding Belisarius himself here, but It's not the end of the world if you get a bit of this grey on some of the cables. Just look like a bit of sort of rock dust, which is quite fine actually. And that's it. Just sort of catching the raised areas of the rock, the main shape of it. You're not repainting the whole surface. There we go. Just running that along like so. And once you're happy with it, give that a little bit of time just to settle and dry fully. Shouldn't take any time at all really. It's a dry brush. And you can put a little bit of this dust around the cables and stuff actually on the bottom. Kind of nice. You can go mad, but just a little bit, just to sort of blend that in. Bit of the dust. There we go. So we'll let that dry. Then we've got another one of these to do. And then we're almost there. So we're going to do the same thing again. This time with the Corax White. I'm going to be just a little bit more sparing this time. Work some of that into the bristles on the tissue. I do like to just test it first before you put it on the model. It should just come off nice, and if it's coming off streaky, it's probably a little bit too damp still. Just work it in a bit more. It should come off kind of, almost look kind of dusty. There we go, that should do it. And we're going to run this across the formation of the rock again. Just a sharper highlight this time. So we're doing a little bit less, and we're making sure we're just catching the sort of very tops, the raised areas. Just to help pop that out a little bit more. Like so. You see, I hope you can sort of see the difference between this area and here. So a little extra highlight really does a nice job, a nice finish. There we go, just working that around. Top it up here and there if you want, but I wouldn't go mad with the white. It's supposed to be just a little bit of a subtle thing. There we go. So you've got the sort of three colours there, the sort of dark grey, a sort of a mid-light grey, and then a fine highlight of the white. And Corax White's a really nice white. It's one of my favourite colours actually. It's not like a bright white. It's almost kind of a little bit greyish. A really strong pigment to it, really nice. And there we go then. So we're gonna, I think that's there. I'm happy with that, I think. And we've got one last thing to do. Just gonna paint the edge of the base here. And then old Belisarius here will be finished. So we've got the Mechiancus standard grey out one last time for the final stage here. And we're gonna paint the edge of the base. Make sure the paint's nice and smooth, and I'm just going to use the long length of the brush to very gently smooth this paint across all the way around the edge like so. Just being careful not to get it up on top of the base there. Just working that around nice and smoothly. You want the paints to have a nice consistency to it. To thin it down if you need to. Get a nice smooth finish around this base. And you'll no doubt need to do a couple of layers of this. Just to get it nice and strong and bold, crisp, clean. There it is, I'm just working it around. And I'm going to let this dry. Let it dry nice and fully. And then I'll go around and I'll do another layer of that. And that should be fine. I think the two layers should do that nicely. So I'll do that and then show you the finished result. And there we are then, that's the finished result. And that's Belisarius finished as well. There we go. Simple but effective, I think, for the base there. Just Astrogranite Debris, the technical texture paint, followed by a couple of dry brushes, Administratum Grey, Corax White, And that's it. Painting the edge and any bits we missed with the Mechiancus standard grey as well. And there we go. That is how you do the bases for Forge Phobos. And there we have it then. So that was episode 6 of Painting Forge Phobos, the painting series where I've unveiled all the secrets, all the tips and tricks for painting the colour scheme of my Adeptus Mechanicus army. And in this episode we finished off the model and we did the Phobos Moon Bases. If you haven't checked out some of the other episodes in this painting series, then I certainly hope you'll go and do that, and you can see all the different stages of painting Belisarius from start to finish. And if you'd like to have a really good look at the finished result of Belisarius here in his full glory, then I'm going to be uploading a showcase painting reference video as well, so that'll be a selection of high detailed photographic close-ups, give you a really good look at the finished model here. So keep an eye out for that, keep an eye out for more painting series coming in the future, and if you've enjoyed the video today, then a like and a comment would be very, very much appreciated. And if you'd like to see more of what goes on here inside the Frozen Fortress, then perhaps you'll also consider becoming a subscriber. And once again, whoever you are, thank you very, very much for joining me today. I'm Winter Wizard, that's Dimmu, and for now, keep it frosty.